good day to you and a very warm welcome to the 45th edition of the Rome-Ostia Half Marathon, the Huawei Rome-Ostia Half Marathon. It's a race which runs from the capital, the Italian capital, downtown in the Italian capital, out to Lido di Ostia. It's a famous old resort on the Italian coast, about, well, funnily enough, about 20 kilometers from the city of Rome. And while it's a relatively grey, slightly windy day in the Mediterranean on this Sunday, the 10th of March, downtown it's rather glorious. There's a bit of sun going on in the centre of Rome, as you can see, the start area just to the south of the city for this famous half marathon, which has around 10,000 starters. It's a city, Rome, of course, which is steeped in history. The Italians very proud, and rightly so, of their heritage, the home, if you like, of European culture in many respects, along, of course, with Athens, Greece. But the modern is mixed with the ancient in a rather glorious conglomeration of architecture and sculptures around the city. There's an idea of the course. They start with a loop around the city, and then at around 3 kilometers, they start heading out towards the coast on a long straight line, really from around 4 kilometers out to the finish at the coast in Ostia, running pretty much due west from the city of Rome. And the course, well, it's generally a very fast course, and it does have an overall drop, but around 10 kilometers, as you can see there in the middle of that profile, there's quite a big hill, and that hill climbs for about 2 kilometers. It's well over a mile long. The total climb is 126 meters, the total drop 157 meters. But it's a famous old race, this one, which has changed over the years. The first race was in 1974. The first 13 editions varied between 27.5 and 31 kilometers. And then it has remained a half marathon every year since 1987. It's a fast course, but a point-to-point one with a significant drop, which means, of course, it's ineligible for records, for national records or world records or anything like that. 61 minutes was first broken in 1997 by the great Stefano Baldini, the Olympic champion, of course, in 2004 eventually. The marathon with 60:56 was his time back in 97. And then 60 minutes, the 1 hour barrier, broken here for the first time in 2011 by Tuyuba of Ethiopia with a 59:58. But each of the last 8 editions of this marathon in the men's side has been won by time in under 60 minutes. And for the women, well, 70 minutes was first broken in 2003 by Gloria Marconi of Italy with 69:25. And then the last 8 editions, funnily enough, for the ladies as well, have all been won in under 70 minutes. And that is the benchmark, of course, of women's world-class running for the half marathon, I think, is 70 minutes. Reigning champions are Galen Rupp from the USA, who is not here this year. He won last year very impressively in 59:47. And then the women's side, well, the Ethiopian Haftamnesh Hailu won with 69:02 12 months ago. It's a cool morning, but conditions just about perfect for running. It's around 9 or 10 degrees, maybe a bit more actually, 12 or 13 degrees downtown where you're out of the wind. And really glorious conditions, in fact, for a fast half marathon. And the first kilometre or so is very fast. In fact, the first 300 or 400 metres are down quite a steep hill. And then when they get out to the coast, well, it is one long straight flat for the last 8 or 9 kilometres. There's the lineup. Gia Adola, who won her in 2017, the 28-year-old Ethiopian, has a best of 59:06. Yegon will be tough too, the 30-year-old Kenyan, with the best of 59:44. There you can see some of the top Italians. Probably the best known of the Italians is Stefano La Rosa, who's a 62:15 performer. But Italy, of course, with a great heritage of fabulous distance running on the European continent at least. Very proud of its tradition. But of course, with the African Revolution having taken over distance running globally, it's very hard for the Italians to penetrate the top 10 in races of this caliber. Well, the thousands of regular runners in this race enjoying the half hour or so before the race, the anticipation and keeping loose. A lot of them, of course, will be thinking, I don't need to warm up, I'm going to be running for 21.1 kilometers. The road surface, well, it's very good in places, but the roads of Rome are notoriously testing these days, I think you could say. The buca, or the holes, the potholes in the roads have grown enormously in number through this winter. And it is a word, the buca, that is used in some fairly colourful language, I think, by the regular users of the Roman road network. The Rome Marathon, of course, is on April the 7th, same day as the Milan Marathon this year. And the organisers here do a great job. For the 10,000 or so runners this year, there will be plenty of pacemakers going out at paces from 1:24 to 1:30, 1:35, and about every 5 minutes there's a pacer that the athletes can latch themselves onto. Of course, these early months of 2019 come on the back of an astonishing year in 2018, when the world record was broken for the men, both the half marathon and the marathon. Abraham Kiptum in the half marathon in Valencia just last October, running to 58 minutes 18 rather. Incredible running from Kiptum in Valencia. The course record here in this very fast half marathon from the Roman capital out to the coast is 58:44. And on the women's side, well, the field is strong. Jordan Hasse, of course, from the USA, will be a major competitor here. She will give a good account of herself. Diana Kipioke, the 24-year-old Kenyan, with the best of 67.07. Look out for Salpeter, Lona Salpeter of Israel, former Kenyan, 30 years old now, but she's a 67.55 performer. And certainly many people feel that she has plenty of potential to be made up, Salpeter, on that personal best achieved in Lisbon last year. Well, the athletes, the throng, lined up behind the elite on that front rank on this steep downhill section to kick off the 45th edition of the Huawei Ostia Marathon in 2019. Away they go then. No sun in the skies above Rome as they start at 9:15 local time on this Sunday morning. But that doesn't matter. I think they prefer a bit of cloud cover. There are pacemakers in there. You can see in the pinkish or orange strip nearest the camera there, that's Yegon, who will be a reliable pacemaker. I rather fancy he's Cornelius Kangogo, it is, who is such a good track runner, has a best of 13:10 for 5,000 and 7:39 for 3,000. And if you know your track running, you will know those are very much world-class times. Well, look at the colours, the sea of humanity pouring down from the start line. Some 10,000 athletes entered for this race. There have been a couple of years when there has been no race over the last 46, 47 years. Not because local politics, I understand. But already on this quick downhill as it flattens out, Kangogo leading, and the number 7 there, tucked in behind him. Looking quite strong, quite comfortable. Adola is there as well. And the best of the ladies, well, they will become more and more apparent as the race goes on. But the Italians, of course, are blessed with a marvellous climate. The winter months are a lot kinder up in Northern Europe on this very day. This morning, the Hague half marathon, Den Haag half marathon has been cancelled, we understand, because of extremely strong winds coming off the English Channel, and a big half marathon in the centre of London has had to be compromised, and some structures not going up because of the very, very strong winds across the English capital. But, well, here in Rome, conditions quite glorious, and Kangogo pushing on very quickly indeed. This first kilometre is going to be super fast. Kibet is in there, Moses Kibet, the 22-year-old Ugandan. You can see they're tucked right in the slipstream of Kangogo. Kibet is a 60:44 performer, has already had 3 races this year. an experienced half marathon runner. Also strong at the marathon. He's run 2:13 as opposed to his 60 point in the full marathon, in the half marathon. Well, the leading women, and it is a strong women's field. If anything on paper, I suppose you could say it's almost a stronger women's field. And they too becoming separated from the rest. The Italian star in this one, Valeria Stranio, we saw her just now, but she's already dropping back from this group. Stranio is 42 years old now. She does have a best of 67.46, but she's already back from this pack. There you can see the blonde hair of Jordan Hasse towards the back of that little lead pack of ladies. We accelerate with that camera up towards this lead pack of the men. You can see where they are. They've got about 1.5 kilometers behind them, this pack. And it is quick. Well, the men have gone through 1 kilometer, goodness me, in around 2:40 with that big, fast downhill, giving them a real kick start to this particular race. Yeah, Kangogo here, looking very relaxed, isn't he? La Rosa, the Italian there, to the left of that group, is giving a good account of himself in the early stages, admittedly. Stefano La Rosa, he's a good track runner. La Rosa has gone through the gears, so to speak. He's 33 now, but he has run 3:40 for 1,500 meters and 13:23 for 5,000. He's a 62:15 performer. That was in the Rome, Austria race. He came 11th here back in 2012, so he knows this course well. So already we're down 6 men following the pacemaker Kangogo. It has gone off very fast indeed, this. Well, the leading ladies carried along at the moment by their pacemaker. Giovanni Gualdi is the pacemaker for the ladies. There's La Rosa. Wonder how long he can hang with these Kenyans, because on paper these Kenyans and Ethiopians are, well, a couple of minutes quicker than him. Adola there, the tallest man in that pack. There's the second wave. The race features 3 start waves necessary because of the huge number of participants every 7 minutes from 9:15 until 9:30. Groups of around 4,000 athletes begin their race, and that of course takes pressure off the course, off the volunteers along the course, for who do such a fabulous job in races like this, manning the water stations and the medics along the course as well. An event like this, shutting down a big chunk of a capital city in Western Europe, is no mean feat. But it cannot be done without hundreds and hundreds of volunteers. Well, Kangogo staying very aware of what's going on the road around him. They've gone through 2 kilometers in 5:29. So yes, very quick indeed. And I was warned that they tend on this course to pass through 3K in around 8:20, the leading men. So it is always very fast, the early section of the Rome, Austria half marathon. And today, sticking with that tradition. Funny, isn't it? You've got the lead men ploughing along, heading up towards 3 kilometers. While you've got thousands of athletes only just passing through the start line. Kangogo, though, looks very smooth indeed. And that is because he is a 3:35 1,500 meter runner. It's worth around 3:53 for the mile. So he's quite relaxed at this tempo. And that sort of a slingshot effect they get off the first mile gets them into off the first few hundred meters downhill, gives them a really good start to their race, gets them underway, gets the legs turning over quickly, and that's been maintained here. Of course, they need to settle into a rhythm, and they're establishing that at the moment. But this is a quick race, we know that. Many great athletes over the years have run very quickly here. Wilson Kiprop winning here in 2013. You can go back to Stefano Baldini, the Olympic champion, winning in 1997, and even further back, Steve Jones, the Briton, in 1985, who was a world record holder for the marathon, winning this race, although back then it was 28.5 kilometers. It was a lot further than the 21.1 of a half. Well, here are the leading pack of ladies, and you can see Salpetta over on the far side in the white vest, nearest the camera. Looking at an athlete with, I think, 17 on her back there. Is that slightly harder to identify? But for the vast majority of these runners, of course, it is a case of getting to the finish line. They're not interested in racing hard so much as meeting personal challenges. So you can see here some of those past winners in recent years. Galen Rupp, who of course has had such a fabulous couple of years, the Olympic medalist in the marathon and 10,000 over the last couple of Olympiads. And going back further, you can see that it's been dominated by the Kenyans and the Ethiopians, and the last 8 editions, as I said, have been won in under 60 minutes. It would probably be harsh on people who've run just outside 60 minutes or 61 minutes to say that world class begins at 60 minutes for the marathon. Anything quicker is world class, because I think if you're running around 62 minutes, you're world class at the half marathon. But Kangogo with Adola tucked in behind him there, looking very comfortable indeed, and he's a very experienced campaigner is Adola. Diana Kipyoke, that is, with the F2 on her back, and you can see the previous winners, 69.02 by Hailu Cherono, 67 minutes. Flamina Daniel, 67.39. Florence Kiplagat won here in 66.38, and that is the course record, in fact, for the ladies. That was back in 2012. Florence Kiplagat set out very, very steadily for the first half on that day 7 years ago, and then blasted the second half after she negotiated the big hill. They come off that hill at about 12 kilometers, and then it is pretty much downhill or dead flat to the finish line. So Kipyoke then is F2. And F7 there, Perrine Nenkampi, also very much up to the front. She's never broken 70 minutes, but she's going much quicker than that at the moment. Gia Odola, a best of 59.06 at Delhi just 4.5 years ago, and he won this race in 2017. He's had a bit of a rough time since Adola. He's had some poor races in between winning here 2 years back, but says he's back in good form. Emmanuel Kipsang, well, a best of 60.14. That was in Lisbon 3 years ago for the 27-year-old. Kipsang, well, he too, a world-class track runner with 7.37 for 3,000 meters, for example. That's Kipkemoi Kiprono already beginning to suffer with what, nearly 12 minutes on the clock. These men have gone through 3 kilometers in 8:19. Next significant split that everybody will be watching for is the 5-kilometer split, of course, but it is breaking down pretty quickly. With Jordan Haase, best of 67.55, that was in Prague a couple of years back. She's had a lot of injury problems since then. In fact, talking to her yesterday here in Rome, she was saying that this race is her first race for exactly 1 year. She hasn't raced since the US Championships over 15 kilometers, on March the 10th last year. So Jordan Haase quite nervous about what her legs will do to her today, what she will be able to form, but she's had 4 separate stress fractures in her heel, which have kept her out of the Boston Marathon and the Chicago Marathon of 2018. So Kipioke it is who just has a nose in front of that women's field behind the pacemaker. And in this leading men's group, nearly 13 minutes on the clock. Kangogo doing an excellent job. That's exactly what these athletes want, is an experienced name out in front, pushing the pace along, keeping it nice and steady, establishing a rhythm for them, which is what they really need. And as you can see, now that they're out of the built-up area of the Roman capital, or the Italian capital, so they can indeed enjoy this flat road without any twists and turns. There were several turns in the first 3 or 4 kilometers while they were negotiating Rome itself. Well, 4 men tucked in behind Kangogo. Number 7 is also a Kangogo. Well, they go through 5 kilometers there, these men, in 14:02 in this Roma half marathon. It is quick, just a click outside 28-minute tempo. And if they maintain that sort of pace, they will go well under 60 minutes for this 45th edition as the third wave gets underway back in the centre of town. And that hill is so steep, you don't really get the full effect of it there with this foreshortening effect of the camera. But that hill is so steep, you really have to watch yourself that you don't fall flat in your face as you stride down it. Really is very quick. You can see one particular gentleman who's bursting away from the pack. Perhaps he should have been in a faster pack, who knows. Well, there it is, confirmation that at 14 kilometers, at 5 kilometers, they're on 14:02. And it predicts a winning time of 59:13. They're moving at 2:48 tempo. That could be tough to maintain. La Rosa, Stefano La Rosa, is just struggling to go with this pace now. 12th in the European Championships marathon last year in Berlin in 2:15, in very warm weather in the German capital. He's a good, consistent performer. His best marathon is 2:11, just outside 2:11. That was in Seville in February last year. So at the age of 33, Stefano La Rosa is handling his career very well. Some might suggest he's past his peak. He's not running those quick times on the track anymore, but he's managing his career very well, albeit not able to keep up with this lead group of men. Well, he looks relaxed at Dola, doesn't he, to the left of picture there? Looks more relaxed than does Kangogo wearing 7. And while there's a slight breeze coming off the sea at Ostia, which they will be at in about 45 minutes, the men, there's very little wind inland, so they're running in relatively sheltered, calm air, with the temperature at around 15 degrees, these athletes. So La Rosa, well, this could be a very tough race for him because he's on his own with what, only some 16.5 minutes on the clock. Kangogo, the pacemaker, leads from number 7, Kangogo. Adola, Yegon, Kibet. La Rosa is there, Kip Kemoy. They're just keeping that wary 5 yards behind. Well, the joy of these athletes as they pour down the starting slope to begin their sojourn out towards the sea is all too apparent. It's almost tangible. They're loving it back there in the pack. Out in front, it's fierce and fast. And you can see the ladies have gone through 5K in 15:44 with Salpeta just her nose in front. Jep Kemai is there as well. Kipiokai. And Antonina Kwambai making her presence felt too at the front of that field, the 26-year-old Kenyan. But back to these men, where Cornelius Kangogo looks pretty comfortable, doesn't he? A little glance over his shoulder there. The world record, Abraham Kiptum, 58.18, as I said, in Valencia last year. And the best of 2019 this year. Stephen Kiprop winning in Ras Al Khaimah a month or so ago. That was on the 8th of February, 58.42. I was at that race, that was quick. And the race record, Solomon Yego back in 2016, 58.44. That's the target for these men, but that is a very, very, very quick time on this course, which is not flat. It is a fast course, but it's not flat. And frankly, I think possibly on that day in 2014 when Yego ran 58.44, he had a slight following wind helping him. Well, they are deep in concentration, that leading men's pack, and they need to be, because the pace is very, very fast. They're heading for a time at the moment of around 59.20, 59.30. Joycelyn Jepkoskoi setting that astonishing world record for the ladies, 64.51 in late 2017. The Kenyan Semberi Teferi, the fastest time this year. That again was at the Rack Half Marathon, Ras Al Khaimah, back in early February, 65.45. And Florence Kiplagat, course record, 66.38. Well, it could be under threat, because they've gone out very quick here today, these ladies. They've passed 5K in a very, very healthy time indeed, and that is being maintained at the moment. 15.43, remember, the ladies, was Salpeta, Kwambai and Kipioke. And Salpeta over on the far side, a fascinating athlete, the Israeli. Had a long chat with her yesterday. She is a former Kenyan, but at the age of 19, she moved to Israel and started working as a nanny for one of the embassy workers. And she didn't discover running. She was a very late starter. Only started training seriously at age of 27, 28, so only about 3 years ago. And even in 2017, she finished 41st in the World Championship Marathon. Indeed, her first marathon, her first 10K was much, much slower. It was about 47 minutes. And then she improved to 36 minutes in her next 10K just 3 months later. And started moving on from there. She comes from Pokot, same as Tekla Lorupe. Same region as Tekla Lorupe, the former world record holder in the marathon, absolute legend Lorupe. Well, you can see that they've just passed 7 kilometers, the men, 20 minutes on the clock. Kangogo doing a great job of dragging them along there at a nice, healthy clip, setting up the race for men. The best performances for Italian athletes in the Rome Austria half marathon was set by 2 great runners, Baldini, who I've already mentioned, back in 97, running 60.56, and Valeria Strano in 2012, 67.46. Of course, Strano the following year in Moscow at the World Championships in sweltering heat managed to take a silver medal. Strano, now 42 years old, is probably a little past her best. She was telling me yesterday in the hotel she's had a lot of injury problems. Hamstring, her right hamstring has troubled her. Of course, she is famously an athlete who recovered from major surgery some 8 or 9 years ago. She had her spleen removed along with her gallbladder, which had been troubling her. And her career rocketed forward from that point on, when she was able to train without that hindrance. All athletes, of course, including these men, walk that tightrope between that very, very fine line between being super fit and being injured. Kangogo leading then from Adola, and Yegon is there as well. Kibet also making his presence felt, Moses Kibet. He's the best marathon of 2:13. That was in Chuncheon, Korea in October 16. But 22 minutes on the clock. Well, these men still moving well. Heading now towards the 8-kilometer mark. La Rosa is working very hard, by the way, in the background. He's back in, what, 7th place, but he's working really hard to try and close on those ahead of him. There is La Rosa. And of course, if you're a distance runner, you have to get used to this, working hard on your own, whether it's in training or racing. And he is closing. Yes, La Rosa there is closing very impressively. So the Italian, all on his own, knows he's holding up the Italian flag, so to speak, in this race against the best that Africa could find on this day. But it is easier when you're in a pack and when you've got a pacemaker. And one could argue, of course, that it's they're not operating on an equal footing if you've got a pacemaker out in front, dragging you along, and further back, while we get that camera lens cleaned, further back you're having to operate all on your own without anybody assisting you. Well, some would say that's not a level playing field. Salpetta to the top left of picture. Mother of a young boy now, Lona Salpetta. Roy, who is back with his mother-in-law. Her husband is here. He is her coach as well, Dan. And he is here in the city. Does some training with her, but he said she's too quick for him nowadays with a lot of her training. Well, this is fabulous work from La Rosa. So the Via Cristoforo Colombo is the road that links Rome to Ostia, this long, straight, glorious road. It was built in 1937 by Mussolini's government with the aim to be the primary connection between the city and the sea, and it still is. And look at it, beautiful tree-lined avenue, stretches for miles and miles. Well, I just get the impression that Salpetta is getting a little impatient here. 24 minutes on the clock and this slight downhill, and she's striding out really strongly. And Kipioke is going with her. Diana Kipioke, the 24-year-old, has never raced on the track. She's done 7 half marathons, and or rather 7 half marathons in 2018. But Salpetta, born on the December the 12th, 1988, makes her 30 years old now. And she was saying to me last night that when they hit the big hill at around 9.5 kilometers, and it goes on for about 2K, for about 2 kilometers, that's when she thinks she might make an attack if she's feeling good. But she looks to have gone even earlier than that. Diana Kipioke, the 24-year-old winner of the Usti nad Labem half marathon last year. That's in the Czech Republic. Her best 67.07 makes her on paper almost a minute quicker than Salpetta. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. But Salpetta, we know, has got an awful lot of potential to make up. So, Kangogo instructing his runners there to tuck in behind him, get on the left of the road, he's saying, as they negotiate a slight curb. Kibet, head back. Is he beginning to struggle? Moses Kibet. He's already had 3 races this year, a couple of cross-country races in Kenya, and then he was 6th in the Guadalajara half marathon in 64:10, although that was at altitude. Now, you can see them here with 26 minutes on the clock. Very soon heading for Camping Hill, that big climb. It's the infamous hill. Of course, Boston has its Heartbreak Hill, but here in the Rome Ostia, it's Camping Hill, which is the one they dread. It is almost 2 kilometers long. It doesn't look so big in that that graphic, but believe me, it's a very long drag, and it's deceptive because you go up for about 1 kilometer and then it seems to flatten out for about 300 or 400 meters, and then it goes up again. So it's a long, unending drag, or so it seems for the runners in the Rome Ostia half marathon. Now, good running from La Rosa. All that hard work has been rewarded as he catches that. I think it's Emmanuel Kipsang. Yes, it is. Kipsang being passed by La Rosa. Now, the coaches say, when you go past somebody like this in a race, put on a bit of an acceleration, open up a gap on them, because what he doesn't want, La Rosa, to the right of picture there, is for Kipsang, Emmanuel Kipsang, to sit on him and feed off him, so to speak, almost treating La Rosa, the Italian, as a pacemaker. He's run 60:14, Kipsang, and he's coming back at La Rosa there, so they might be able to work together to help each other. And back in this women's race, well, it does look like Kipioke is pushing it on aggressively. She's done 15 marathons, the 24-year-old, including 6 in 16 half marathons, that is 6 in 2017, 7 in 2018, and 8 times she's broken 70 minutes. So she's confident, she's strong, and she's running aggressively here. And when you think that Salpetta there in second place was such an impressive winner of the European Championships 10,000 meters last summer in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, well, you can realize what she's taking on there and trying to break Salpetta mid-race. There they go through the 10-kilometer marker. 28:23 for the leading men. The women, of course, some 3 minutes or so further back, but that is quick for the men. 28:23. Well, just looking at my timing chart, that puts them on schedule for something like 59:50. So it is a good, healthy tempo as we see La Rosa and Kipsang spread across the road. That's a clear indication to me that there is no wind, because if there was wind as they approach 20k, what, about 40 seconds down, they go through now on 29:05. You might have seen La Rosa there check his watch. If there was wind, one of them would be tucked in behind the other, but they clearly have no wind in their faces. They're feeling pretty comfortable on this rather lovely, mild, if grey, Sunday morning. So, 3 men tucked in behind the little figure there of the race-long leader, who's doing a wonderful job as pacemaker, Cornelius Kangogo. And now with, what, just over 10 kilometers on the clock, they're at about 10.5 kilometers. They're just beginning to ease into the climb, the hill. 2 Kangogos in first and second. Adola there has now moved in second place. But this is the long climb, and La Rosa leaning into it ahead of Emmanuel Kipsang. This is going to be tough, and they know it's coming, so mentally they can prepare themselves for it. But physically, as they pass this glorious little band booming music out at them, they need to have themselves mentally prepared. The course has 3 climbs, in fact. The first one at 4th kilometer, that's not so big. The second most difficult one between 9 and 11, yes, the camping hill. And the final one between 17 and 19, often decisive for the victory. So while over the years we're used to seeing very fast times come out of the Roma half marathon, and it is a point-to-point course, which makes it ineligible for the for record purposes, along with the drop of more than 1 meter per kilometer. It is actually a pretty tough course in its own way. A bit like the Great North Run, the big half marathon in England, up in the northeast of England every September. That is a point-to-point, it's downhill overall, but there's hardly a flat meter in it. You're continually climbing or dropping slightly, and it's a tough old race, the Great North Run, as indeed is the Roma half marathon. 31:25 for the ladies at 10k. 31:25 for Salpetta, who's just got her nose in front of Kipioke now. Diana Kipioke. Well, she's never represented Kenya in the major championships. She has broken 68 minutes 3 times with that red hair flapping there behind her. Very experienced. All those sub 68-minute times, by the way, came in 2018. She's a fast runner too. Her personal best in the roads, Kipioke to the right of picture, is 30:23. She set that in Prague in September last year, so she's very capable of holding her own against the likes of Salpetta. But these 3 tucked in behind Kangogo. Justus Kangogo it is, who is in second place. They're wearing number 7. For my money, the most relaxed of them looks Geo Adola. Well, the ladies now hitting the big uphill. In fact, they've been on it for a little while. And Salpetta said that she would attack on the hill, and this is a long drive she's making here to try and break Kipioke. She's working very hard. That gap is only 2 meters, and Kipioke, let's not forget, has run 10 miles on the road in 51:56. That was in Flint, Michigan, back in 2017. So there you can see the top of the camping hill is where the men are approaching. The ladies at the start of the camping hill, working hard, some 3 minutes further back. Yegon there at the back of the group. Looks young, doesn't he? But he's 30 years old, is Jeffrey Yegon. He's a 59:44 half marathon racer. As I said, he's never raced on the track. Last year, he was 12th in the rack half marathon in 60:50, second in Prague in 59:56, very close to his personal best from 2016. He ran the Eindhoven Marathon back in October, but he only finished 5th in 2:14, did Jeffrey Yegon, so hasn't really taken to the marathon. He is preparing for a spring marathon, as indeed are so many of these athletes. Salpetta is preparing for a marathon in April, although it hasn't been announced which race. Justus Kangogo is pushing on pretty hard here, isn't he? He's continually getting his nose just in front of Adola. There he is with number 7 on his front. Justus Kangogo has a best of 59:31, so he should be relatively comfortable at this pace, although it's really in the third quarter of the race, when they come off the top of the hill, that a lot of athletes make their attack. And you can see Adola here, almost with a half smile on his face, the left of picture. Salpetta, well, her full name Chemtai Lona Salpetta. She says she goes back to Kenya fairly regularly indeed. She's been back in Kenya in the last few weeks for 3 weeks training, and then went back to Israel for a couple of weeks, and then went back to Kenya again for a couple of weeks. Well, the men here looking as though they've crested the hill with 35.5 minutes on the clock. That is them at close to 12 kilometers. So Justus Kangogo wears 7. Yegon in the background seems to have done his pacemaking job and is now just tucked in behind these 3. And also there, of course, is Kibet. Yegon to the left of picture, Kibet further back. So, 2 Kangogos in shot. Justus Kangogo wears 7 on his front. The pacemaker for the first half of the race here in the Roma event. Cornelius Kangogo just tucked in now. Does look like he wants to finish this race. He's running on with these 3. His job done, and he's entitled now to tuck in and almost use them as pacemakers if he so chooses. Number 6 there on the chase to right of picture is Moses Kibet. He too has crested the hill, and now you can see the view that he's got to right of picture is a long, long view towards the coast. Long downhill. There's another slight climb, remember, at around 18-19 kilometers to be negotiated. Stefano La Rosa working hard to get back to him. There are the legs of Chemtai Lona Salpetta. Said to me her last hard session, I was talking to her coach, in fact her husband Dan, before the race, and said the last hard session she did was a 27-kilometer run with 3 kilometers at marathon pace followed by a 1 kilometer float, and she just kept repeating that. 3 hard, 1 float, 3 hard, 1 float for the 27 kilometers. She's a great track runner, is Salpetta. 8:42 for 3,000, 31:33 for 10,000 meters. She won the European Cup, 10,000 metres in London in May last year. Here's La Rosa, though, closing up on Kibet. He's just kept at it, hasn't he? He's really kept focused as the Italian. Using that 2 hours, 11-minute marathon strength to close up on Kibet. The other top Italian who was due to have raced today, Daniele Meucci, had to pull out about 4 days ago with slight injury. Very frustrating that for him, but he didn't want to jeopardise, we understand, his spring marathon. Well, 3 abreast. Jagon tucked in behind. Most of these athletes using this half marathon as preparation for a full marathon coming up in the spring marathon season. They've got so many to choose from, of course: London, Rotterdam, Hamburg, Rome, Paris, Boston. I mean, the list goes on. And their skills, their abilities as great racers are highly sought after. Justus Kangogo looks like he's working hard, but still on the features of Gio Dola, the Ethiopian, the only Ethiopian in that group. There is a half smile as La Rosa has caught Kipsang. In fact, it's Emmanuel Kipsang that he's caught. And this is great running from La Rosa. It's a hard effort for him, nearly 40 minutes on the clock. But it's always good in a distance race when you've been dropped, when you're behind someone, to have a target. If it's 50, 70 meters on the road up ahead, it's great to have that almost like a carrot being dangled in front of you. And that is what La Rosa has done today. He's worked very hard to close up on the athletes ahead of him in a nice steady way. There's a real bounce to the form of Justus Kangogo, isn't there? He's looking strong to the right of picture. I wonder if he's holding back now, or if he fancies trying to make a slight break. 40 minutes on the clock then. Gia Odola has been here before, been here and won it. He won here 2 years ago in 59.18, one of the quickest times ever on this course. In fact, just looking at the all-time list for this race, some 16 men have broken the hour mark on this course. And Odola here is the 3rd fastest ever on this 21.1 kilometer race. The record, of course, held by Diego with that 58.44 from 2016. But Wilson Kiprop winning here in 2013 in 59.15. Last year, Galen Rupp winning with 59.47, very impressively. But otherwise, the race has been dominated by the East Africans, Kenyans and Ethiopians. Although Aziz Lababi from Morocco winning back in 2014. But Stefano Baldini, for example, with his win back in 1997, is just the 37th fastest man on this course. We're in a new era now. You have to remember, this last 10 or 15 years, distance running has taken another step up as more and more East Africans are coming through from the well-organized training camps in Kenya and Ethiopia. Well, Salpeta has a little bit of company. She's got a 6-second gap now on Kipyoke. Has she broken the Kenyan, her former compatriot? Remember that Salpeta has been a proud citizen of Israel for several years now. Trained in Kenya for 3 or 4 weeks in January, and then went back to Israel for 3 weeks, and then went back to Kenya for a further 2 weeks, she told me. She has run 50.45 for 10 miles, Lona Salpeta. As we go back to the men there, and La Rosa just cannot seem to break and get a gap on Kipsang. And on at the same time, the leading quartet to left of picture, well, you could throw a blanket over them, couldn't you? Very, very closely bunched. Nobody giving anything away. Justus Kangogo deep in concentration. Salpetta, streamlined hairstyle for this marvellous racer who stormed to that incredible gold medal in Berlin last year for Berlin at the European Championships, over 25 laps. She was saying to me yesterday how hard it is to balance being a mother of a 4-year-old and doing all the training necessary for her job, her occupation, but she was at pains to tell me, Salpetta, just how she understands that these are the golden years in which she must run hard, she must do what is right for her running career, and to try and do what she can for her little boy Roy. Jagon at the back of this group, tucked in. The arms are flailing a little bit, and I'm just wondering whether Jagon there in the white is struggling, the 30-year-old, or if he's just biding his time. He hasn't been near the front. He's probably the only one of this trio who hasn't got his nose in front yet, in fact. The only one of this quartet, I should say, because Kangogo there in the orange was obviously the pacemaker for the first 10 or 11 kilometers. Justus Kangogo to the right of picture has been in front quite a lot. Adola, nearest the camera, has been in front quite a lot. Kibet, 43 seconds down in that little battle with Stefano La Rosa. That's what, about 300 meters the speed they're moving at. Justus Kangogo, well, he's 24 years old. There is Kibet. Now he's isolated because he is ahead of the battle between La Rosa and Kipsang. So he's in 5th place. La Rosa and Kipsang battling out 6th and 7th. And this is tough for him. 22 years old is Kibet, 6th in the Guadalajara half marathon. That was on the 24th of February, so only, what, 3 weeks ago. But he has reasonable track speed. He's run 13:15 for 5,000 and 27:56 for 10,000. But that stride, there's not real aggression in that stride, is there? He's almost flapping along, striding along, but there's no real power in it. And that, I think, he will mean he's dropping back significantly behind these men. Well, look at the segments. 0 to 5 kilometers, they were averaging 2:48. Then 5 to 10 kilometers, 2:52. And then when they hit the big hill, their average pace for that third 5-kilometer segment dropped to 2:55. These men all building up for the fast finish. From 15 kilometers to the finish, remember, is either downhill or very quick. There is a slight hill at around 18, 19 kilometers, but it is turned into a relatively tactical race, I would argue now, because if they've averaged 2:55 for this last 5 kilometers, then they certainly haven't run aggressively through the middle of the race. I got them at 15K at about 42:57. So there have been some quick kilometers, but of course the big hill, 2 kilometers long, really does compromise the average quite substantially. Adola, though, nearest the camera, looks quite happy, doesn't he, to just keep his nose, what, 20 centimeters in front of Justus Kangogo. And Justus Kangogo is just another athlete, the man to the right there from East Africa, who has gone into training and racing, but without any performances on the track at all. He's never raced on the track. Well, in fact, he's done a 10,000 in Nairobi back in 2015, but you don't do, if you want to run a time that reflects your fitness, you don't race 10,000 in Nairobi. But he's only done the one. His half marathon best, 59:31, coming here in Ostia, in the Rome Ostia, 2 years ago. La Rosa and Kipsang still having that fabulous little dust up, as we see Lona Salpetta. 47:14 at 15 kilometers, estimated a 66:26 finishing time. Well, that would be very, very quick indeed. Of course, the women's course record is 66:38. So are we seeing Lona Salpetta heading for a new course record. She said she would attack on the hill. She did that. She met some big resistance from Kipchoge, but she's broken the Kenyan. And now surely she's heading for victory. But is she heading for a course record as well? Nearly 48 minutes on the clock for this trio. And I say trio because it was 4, wasn't it? And in fact, it's Justus Kangogo who's had to drop back. The man who broke 60 minutes on this course 2 years ago is struggling. What a shame. He's done 80% of the race. But now he is finding perhaps an acceleration. He's asking too many questions for him. Here's that battle for 6th and 7th, La Rosa and Kipsang. The Italian trying desperately to hang on to the coattails of Kipsang. Emmanuel Kipsang, who wears number 4. He's that world-class track racer with really good speed. I don't think La Rosa will want to leave it to a sprint finish against him. As here is Adola now beginning to turn the screw, and for the first time, the man who has been pacemaker so impressively, Cornelius Kangogo, looks to be struggling. This is critical. 49 minutes on the clock. They've already dropped one man from this lead group, and now they are beginning to drop another. Justus Kangogo in the background behind that trio. Salpetta, mind you, in a different situation now. Moving really well. 49.5 minutes on the clock. She knows she's got the win in the bag. The prize money will be hers. And she wants a personal best too, which is so capable of Salpetta. 67.55. She's on schedule to run something like a minute quicker. And now Adola has got the bit between his teeth. And he's really kicking on hard. Yegon is hanging on to him, but they've broken the pacemaker who did such a good job, Cornelius Kangogo, in the oranges, dropping back in 3rd place. With every stride, that gap is growing. Further back behind him is the other Kangogo, Justus Kangogo, in 4th place in the white vest. And Guille Adola at 28 is proving what a smart racer he is. Checks his watch. He knows they've got about 9 or 10 minutes of running to come. He doesn't want to leave this to a sprint finish with little Jeffrey Yegon there tucked in behind him. He's making the distance count. That is so important. Make the meters count. Guille Adola, is he returning to the top of the rostrum here today at the Rome Austria Half Marathon, the 45th edition of the Huawei Rome Austria Half. Strange arm carriage, isn't there, from Yegon? Look how high those arms are. They're sort of flapping, whereas Adola has got a more relaxed arm carriage. 2nd in the Prague Half Marathon back in 2016 was Jeffrey Yegon. His personal best is actually 59.44 from Venlo in the Netherlands in 2016. But the gap has opened up incredibly quickly between this pair and Cornelius Kangogo in 3rd place, who looks like he's going to get involved in a little battle with his namesake, Justus Kangogo. Justus Kangogo is a 59.31 half marathon runner. But what we can say is that Cornelius Kangogo, who did such a good job with the pacemaking for the first half of this race, is probably heading for a massive personal best. His lifetime best is 61.05. Well, surely he's heading for something down towards 60 minutes today if he can hold on for these next 9 or 10 minutes. La Rosa still in this second half battle with the Kipsang. Interesting, isn't it, when you see them about 5 meters apart like that on either side of the road. Normally you see pairs of runners together in close proximity to each other, but they're not so keen on that today. Clearly no wind in their faces as Salpetta, with her pacemaker, pushes on. Giovanni Gualdi doing a great job as pacemaker for Salpetta. And Adola now has the gap. Adola with that half smile fixed, and he's got the gap, there's no doubt about it, on Yegon. It's 4 or 5 meters, and he will be aware of that. And of course, when you get a gap like that, and you've been working so hard to break your opponent, then the adrenaline starts flowing. It's 93 meters back to the second Kangogo, Cornelius Kangogo. Or the first one as the race stands at the moment, but only about 4 meters back to Jeffrey Yegon. No signs of stress or strain on the features of the 30-year-old either. He looks quite relaxed, but he's having to accept perhaps defeat at the hands of Gio Adola. This is like a heavyweight boxing fight. The two big names out in front in the 12th round now. Gio Adola slugging away, trying to break his opponent. The gap is a yawning gap now. It's a chasm back to Cornelius Kangogo in 3rd place. And there has been a substantial acceleration, there's no doubt about that. By the way, they went through 10 miles in about 46:07. So heading for something around 60 minutes exactly. They've slowed a little bit over the last few kilometers. Went through 15k in 42:57, 16k in 45:51. That was at 2:54. So there was a slight slowing up to around 16, 17 kilometers, and that is why I think Adola has kicked in hard here. Although, as I say that, well, can you believe it? Jeffrey Yegon bouncing along, much the shorter of the two, has not only moved up alongside Adola, but looks to be going clear. The fastest time of 2019 is safe. They're not going to get anywhere near Stephen Kiprop's 58:42 from the Rack Half Marathon back on the 8th of February. And of course, the fastest time last year for a half marathon was that world record by Abraham Kiptum in Valencia. 58:18, can you believe? And there is still talk of a world record in the marathon coming each year or fairly soon, and the 2-hour barrier being possible. Of course, the run of Eliud Kipchoge in Berlin last September was absolutely astonishing. So 2:01:17, I think Kipchoge managed. But he is the greatest distance runner in history, in terms of the marathon at least, greatest marathon runner in history. He's only lost one of his 12 races. He's the Olympic champion and world record holder. So I think that almost his run in Berlin proves that 2 hours cannot be broken. Lona Salpetta, though, moving really well. Well muscled in the shoulders. Her husband Dan was saying to me just this morning before the race that she does quite a lot of work in the gym. She keeps in really good shape, a lot of conditioning work. And that is so important. At times when your legs are struggling to keep moving well, upper body strength, pumping hard with those arms, really can assist your form. And of course, core strength, strength in the torso helps you maintain a good upright position. And that therefore gives a better platform for which the legs to drive upon. So Salpetta then. Well, when she ran in the European Cross-Country Championships back in 2017 in Samorin, Slovakia, she was only 50th. That is a measure of how she has improved. The fact that she became European champion in Berlin last summer at 10,000 meters. They're together again, these two, inseparable. You can see on the map there as they approach the seafront. They don't have far to go, 56 minutes on the clock. They're inside the last mile now. Just over a kilometer to run. As Gio Adola must be wondering what he has to do to break this little Kenyan. Of course, there's always been enormous rivalry between Kenya and Ethiopia for major honors, as we see Cornelius Kangogo back in 3rd place. Very light on his feet, but he's not quite driving as hard as he was earlier. He did a fabulous job as pacemaker, one of the best I've seen in a long time, to take them through to 10 kilometers in 28:21. But Gio Adola has attacked again, and this time it seems to be working. Is this the occasion where he breaks Jeffrey Yegon? He tried this 5 minutes ago, got a little gap, and then Yegon came back at him and had the temerity to take the lead. Then they ran side by side for a couple of minutes, and now Gia Adola has attacked once more. He will not give up. And that gap is growing. It's 8 meters, it's 9 meters, 10 meters and more. And Gia Adola is away, and Jeffrey Yeagon has let go of that psychological elastic between this pair. There's no doubt about it. Adola, though, is a very, very tough customer. Make no mistake about that. He's run 2:03 for the marathon, 2:03.46 when he finished second in Berlin in 2017 to Eliud Kipchoge. And he puts on a big surge now as he begins to swing right as they approach the seafront. They've had the sea in their sight for some time. He swings right now, will head down along parallel to the sea with the sea to his left, and then make a U-turn and come back to the finish line. But Gia Adola critically has got that gap inside the last kilometre. It's worked out brilliantly for him, and he is a tough competitor. Let's not forget that when he won the Delhi half marathon in 2014 in 59.06, he beat none other than Jeffrey Kamworor, who was hoping for a hat-trick of world cross-country titles in just a few weeks' time in Aarhus, Denmark. Kamworor is a very special athlete. Many believe that he was the man to take over the mantle at marathon from Eliud Kipchoge. But Adola here had the beating of him back in 2014, and he's got the beating of this field here today. Yeagon battles on in second place. There's that awkward U-turn with a few hundred meters to go. The crowd's cheering him on. But Gia Adola, who won here in 2017, has had a tough time of it, some difficult races, some difficult experiences in the 2 years since. Checks his watch with the finish line in sight. Strides out now towards the line. It's going to be very close to 60 minutes. 59.42 on the clock as Gia Adola up on his toes now. Strides towards the line in this final run-in. He's battled for this one. Took advantage of the great pacemaking of Cornelius Kangogo in the first half. Now he negotiates this slight right-hand curve towards the finish line. Just outside 60 minutes, that's clicked by now as Jeffrey Yeagon battles on in second place. He's rallying well for the finish line. But the manner of this victory from Gia Adola has been fabulous. The execution has been superb. He's worked hard for this one, and he's the champion in 2019 of this Huawei Rome Ostia half marathon of 2019. Brilliant, brilliant run from him. 60.16, the unofficial winning time. Well, checks his watch, of course. It's not important, really, compared with the fact that he took the win here today from Jeffrey Yeagon, who finished just a very few seconds down and carried on battling, didn't he? He rallied towards the end there. And here is the man who has worked hardest for this, the pacemaker originally, Cornelius Kangogo, sprinting towards the line for third place. His lifetime best is 61.05. I think he's going to be just outside that, but it's been an amazing effort from him because he led so much of the race. He led the first 10 or 11 kilometers. He crossed the line in 61.07 unofficially. Brilliant effort from him. And striding home for fourth place is Justus Kangogo. Well, Justus Kangogo in fourth place has a best of 59.31. He's almost 2 minutes outside that here. But that doesn't matter at all. He has run very, very well. And maybe the early kilometers were a little too quick. Remember that 5 kilometer split? Well, it was 14.02. That put them on schedule for something around 59.15, 59.20. There's La Rosa, Stefano La Rosa, who has worked so hard. He couldn't catch Kibet, but it looks like he has beaten Kipsang, or has he? No, there's Kipsang. This is fifth place now for Moses Kibet. He's had a lonely race. He's been isolated throughout. His unofficial winning time, his unofficial time is 62.11 there for fifth place. And coming through for sixth is Kipsang. And he has just managed to hang on from the fast finishing La Rosa. Kipsang there comes through in around 62.25. La Rosa around 62.30 for that seventh place. Well, they all know they've been in a race today. Stefano La Rosa very close to his lifetime best of 62.15. He's got to be happy with that. It was back in 2012 that he ran that time too. So 7 years ago when he was a sprightly 26. He's 33 now, Stefano La Rosa, but there is the champion, a two-time winner. And there haven't been many of those over the years. Gio Adola of Ethiopia, winning unofficially in 60 minutes 16. Well, we can focus now more on the women's race. Remember, Salpetta here, one of a pack, going through 5K in 15:43 and 10K in 31:23. She reached 15K in 47:12, but then was alone, forged her way through to the front in a battle against Kipyoke of Kenya. And another of the Kenyans coming home there, Kipkewo. As we see, Gio Adola taking top honours in the men's race. That clock that was on the screen was for the women's race. His winning time unofficially 60.16 ahead of Jeffrey Urievcon. They had a real battle over the last 3 or 4 kilometres, knocking chunks out of each other, so to speak. But he can be very, very pleased with that one. He is exhausted, too tired to smile there as he gets his medal. And 10 is coming through. That is Tibor Sahajda of Slovakia. Now he's a 66-minute performer. This is going to be a big personal best for him, as he is ahead of Salpetta, but not by much, because there is Chemtai Lona Salpetta of Israel. What a run she's had. Learning the Israeli language, she told me yesterday, she said her ability to read and write Israeli is much better than her spoken Israeli. She said it's a hard language to learn, and she's trying to fit lessons in between her training and looking after her 4-year-old boy, Ray. Of course, Hebrew, the language for the Israelis. But she's working on mastering that. Said she does a lot of her training in some beautiful forest outside her hometown. It's much greener than many people realize is Israel. And Salpetta, there's no doubt about it, heading for a big personal best. There's the second placer, I think, going through, Diana Kipyoke, who put up very stubborn resistance mid-race. But she couldn't hold on to Salpetta's surge in the third quarter. And as she negotiates that little U-turn there, Lona Salpetta heading for a personal best. 67.55 from last October when she was second in Lisbon is her lifetime best. She said she'd like to run around 67 minutes. I was chatting to her about half an hour before the gun here in the Roma race. She said she'd like to get around 67 minutes, and if possible, under 67 minutes. Well, she's going to do that by a big margin. Look at the clock, 66 minutes on the clock. And Lona Salpetta here is heading for one of the quickest times by a European in many, many years. Driving towards the line now, the crowd roaring her on. Lona Salpetta raising her game. This is the form that won her the European title over 10,000 meters last summer in Berlin. It's good enough to win her the Rome-Ostia Half Marathon, the 4th edition of this Huawei Rome-Ostia Half Marathon. This has been a very, very impressive run indeed from Lona Salpetta, who rightly punches the air there as she breaks the tape unofficially in 66.40. And Kwambai is coming through as well. That is a big personal best for Salpetta. She's just lopped 1 minute and 15 seconds off her personal best. She loved it, didn't she? She knew that was a big, big run, and it sets her up perfectly for her coming marathon. And here is Kipyoke, Diana Kipyoke. Well, she is just outside her personal best. She ran 67.07 in Valencia last year. There she crossed the line around 67.14, unofficially, with male athletes around her. Great run from Kipyoke. And this, I think, is Perrine Nenkampi in third place. Well, Salpetta breaking the field apart at 11 kilometers, and that attack is what broke Kipchoge. Well, Kwambai is coming home for third place there in around 67.52. And then good running for Takebo of Ethiopia, Mulie Takebo. She's only 20 years old there to run around 68 minutes flat in 5th place. Or 4th place, excuse me. Kwambai was 3rd, Takebo 4th. And here is the long, lean figure of Perrine Nkampe. She's done 5 half marathons. She's won 3 of them, most recently winning the Madrid half marathon in just outside 71 minutes. That was back in October. Well, she's very useful on the track, is Nkampe. She's run 4:03 for 1,500 meters. She's run 8:45 for 3,000. Those long legs carrying her to 5th place here today. She's useful on the roads. Best of 31.25 for a road 10K. She does have good strength. And this run from her here today will be a personal best, I think. She's never broken 70 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be just outside 69 minutes. She's being chased hard there by one of the domestic good quality runners. But this is a fabulous run from Perrine Nkampe, the 30-year-old, still improving, and yes, well inside 70 minutes, unofficially 69.27 there for Nkampe. That is a big, big step forward. Always special when you break a barrier. And there are the first 4. Salpetta, the champion, of course, and the organisers trying to get them in a particular order. I think 1, 2, 3, 4 is what they want. Salpetta to the right of picture, Kipchoge second to right, and then Kwambai and Takebo making up the first 4. And Jordan Hussey, well, it hasn't been a great day at the office for Jordan Hussey. She has struggled so much through 2018 with all those stress fractures, having to pull out of 2 big marathons that she wanted after finishing 3rd in Chicago 2017. There were big, big hopes for this young American. And there is Valeria Strano at 42 years old, still going well, Strano. She too has had a lot of injury problems, saying yesterday that her 2018 year was wrecked by a hamstring injury. She missed the European Championships in Berlin and was 8th at the Valencia Marathon back in December in 2:30, and that was only after 2.5 months of training. So she's still going well, very powerfully built in the legs, is Valeria Strano. And maybe that Valencia Marathon from early December is still in her legs, as we see the American now, Jordan Hussey, striding towards the line. Well, this is her first race in exactly a year. The US 15 kilometers she ran a year ago today. So she's back in the mix, and that's a big achievement for Jordan Hussey of the USA, albeit just outside 71 minutes, which she will be disappointed with. She's a 67.55 performer, but after 4 heel stress fractures in 2018, I suspect she's just delighted to be back in the mix and able to put on her racing shoes. Well, fabulous racing in 2019 once again for the men and the women at this 45th edition of the Huawei Rome Ostia half marathon. No records broken today, but personal bests for athletes like Lona Salpetta, very significant indeed. She could become a major force in the marathon, as we see Valeria Strano take that final corner and stride towards the line. She's been a fabulous performer for Italy over the years. That silver medal at the age of 37 back in 2013 in the sweltering heat of Moscow in 2:25 in the marathon at the World Championships. She was 7th in the Olympic Games the year before that, and then in Rio 2016 she finished in 13th place in 2:29. Marathon debut was back in 2009, so she's been running marathons for 10 years now. She started with a 2:41. But she is very much an athlete who has shone the light on the Italian flag in major championships many, many times. 12 times she's done a marathon. 9 of those runs have been under 2:30. She's admirably consistent, this mother of 2, Valeria Strano. And here she comes, striding towards the line at the age of 42. Just outside 73 minutes, I think she'll be, but she won't be worried about that. I think she's just glad to be back racing. In fact, almost exactly 73 minutes for Valeria Strano there. And just keeping ahead of her compatriot Anna Incerti in the light blue. Anna Incerti, of course, 39 years old now herself. She was European champion in the marathon back in 2010 in Barcelona. Incerti has hit the heights in her career. She really has. Good athlete. Ran a 2:25 in Berlin back in 2011. And the rest of the thousands behind the elite will make their journey towards the finish line. Here is Strano, though, the first Italian home in the women's race. Nowhere near her 67-minute personal best, but around 73 minutes unofficially to be the Italian champion on the day. Well, confirmation of that winning time of Geo Adola, 60:17 in the men's race. From Jeffrey Yegon, 60:23, Kangogo, 61:07, Cornelius Kangogo, ahead of his namesake, Justus Kangogo. And then the times peeling off a little bit once we get outside the top 6 or 7. Kip Kemoy, 63:38. Big personal best there, Slovakia, for Slovakia's Tibor Sahajda, 65:22. Well, there is the 1, 2, 3 in that men's contest. Geo Adola, the tallest of them, and fittingly so, ahead of the 2 Yegons. Cornelius Kangogo taking 3rd place. This time, unofficially, 61:07. Oh, get on the right part of the rostrum. It always fools the athletes because the numbers are usually on the front side, not from the side at which they're staring at it. But that from Cornelius Kangogo was a performance absolutely full of character, because he did so much of the work. He led for so much of the race, and then only had to give best to the 2 ahead of him. Almost within sight of the finish. He worked very, very hard for that 3rd place, and surely there is more to come from this 25-year-old. Jeffrey Yegon, 30 years old, taking 2nd place. And he had a fabulous battle, a really entertaining battle through the final kilometers against the eventual winner, Adola, who regained his title. Well, he ran the Eindhoven Marathon back in October, did Jeffrey Yegon, but maybe he's better suited to this distance. He has run 59:44. He's a member of that select club of athletes who have broken 60 minutes for the half marathon, broken the hour. And certainly there seems to be more to come from him. And Geo Adola, a lovely smile there from him. He has that almost fixed smile on his face anyway. Does Geo Adola. But the title that he won in 2017 is his once again. He is champion of the Hawaii Roma half marathon. And his name joins yet again that long, long list of famous names as winners in the previous 44 editions. Adola, Jeffrey Yegon and Cornelius Kangogo, 1, 2, 3 in the men's half marathon this morning. No threat at all for that course record of Solomon Yego 3 years ago when the Kenyan ran 58:44, but had a very favourable following wind on this course. And it's not an easy course. I think we have to say that. While much of it is flat, there is that massive hill in the middle of the race, a biggish hill towards the end, all of which Lona Salpeter negotiated very well. A win for Lona Salpeter then in that women's race, 66:40. Some 33 seconds ahead of Diana Kipyoke. Kipyoke battling for that 2nd place very well, and ahead of her compatriot Antonina Kwambai, 67:50. The place times in the women's race fabulous. Takebo, 67:57 for 4th place. And Nenkampi also getting under 70 minutes with that 5th. Jordan Hussein, 6, 71:06. Well, there is the third placer in that women's race, Antonina Quambai. Her personal best here today, improving her 68.07 from Paris last year when she won the Paris half marathon in March 2018. Has never raced for Kenya on the track, never had the honour of pulling on a Kenyan bib or a Kenyan vest. She is a half marathon specialist though, 7 races in 2017, 6 in 2018, and a fine third place here today to kick off her 2019 campaign. So 26-year-old Antonina Quambai joins the sub-68-minute club, so to speak. Diana Kipyoke, also of Kenya. Well, what a great race she had. Down towards 67 minutes, her second place time. Never raced on the track, but it's another sub-68-minute clocking for her. She ran it 3 times last year, sub-68 minutes. She does it again here today with that fine second place behind the eventual winner. But she was a convincing winner, wasn't she? Goodness me. Nona Salpeta. 30 years old, the Israeli, but she's running on very young legs. She's only been training hard for 2 or 3 years now. Came into running very, very late, and there is so much more to come from this young lady at not only 10,000 meters and a half marathon, but at the marathon as well. She stayed in Israel, becoming a nanny to the assistant ambassador at the age of 20, and has grown to love the nation, learning Hebrew, learning to write the language, and has married an Israeli and has a gorgeous young boy who's 4 years, 4 months old. And all of her life is spent focused on her young son and her running career, and it's going very, very well indeed. Big win for Salpeta today. So let's take a look at the highlights of this race this morning. The 45th edition of the Huawei Rome Ostia Half Marathon getting underway at 9:15 early. And the early kilometers very quick. The men going through 3 kilometers in 8:19 with the pacemaking of Cornelius Kangogo doing a great job. He led them through the first half of the race, and then when they hit the mid-race hills, it began to break up. And the 2017 champion here on this fast course, Gia Adola, beginning to take control in the closing stages. He had a real battle to the line, though, to beat off the challenge of Jeffrey Yegon, but that he did. In the women's race, there was a more distinct winner. Lona Salpeta of Israel winning in 66:40 unofficially, and that a massive personal best and a win by 33 seconds. Victories then in this 45th edition of the Huawei Rome Ostia Half Marathon for Ethiopia through Gia Adola in the men's race, and Lona Salpeta for Israel in that women's contest. Great racing for this pair. Great day at the office, so to speak, ahead of the many, many thousands behind them. But from all of us here in Ostia, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
Ancora tutto Walker, bravi anche loro, alimentiamo, diffondiamo l'attività fisica, Maurizio e gli altri, presto prenderemo i nostri amici della federazione.